All right, time is 7:02. I call the meeting to order. Can we have roll call, please?
Iverson.
Here.
Schatzinger.
Here.
Hanson.
Here.
Gallops.
Here.
Kane.
Here.
Gotsky.
Here.
Sorensen.
Here.
Split.
Here.
We have a quorum.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sorry, Kevin.
Let us pray. Gracious and loving God, we thank you for all these people willing to serve, to try and serve the greater good of the community of Ripon. We ask that you be with all of them in their leadership, all of the citizens that come and speak and want to be heard, that everybody listens to each other. Let your spirit of peace be upon all of us and guide us in a way that glorifies you. In Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
All right, is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Second. Oh,
Moved by Howard, seconded by Doug. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? As approved. All right, we'll move into public comment. This is the opportunity for citizens to come before the council with comments and concerns on any current city issue, knowing no action may be taken tonight. I ask that you keep it civil and respectful and within 5 minutes. However, discussion of personnel or individual members of the common council shall not be permitted. I expect you to be respectful, and in return, I expect the council to treat the citizens with the same respect. Before you begin, please state your full name and address for the record. First, we have Aaron Kane. Kane.
Aaron Kane, 423 Stonehenge Court in Ripon. Okay. Evening, and thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. Last month I was here and I talked about the recreational value and economic opportunity of ATV, UTV routes for Ripon. Tonight I wanted to cover a few other items. First on my agenda is safety. As is with any recreational vehicle or even your car or truck, safety only goes as far as the driver, the passenger, and the pedestrians around you, and their respect for safety. Wisconsin's not a state that requires helmets to be worn at all times. However, wearing a helmet is worth your own personal safety. Manufacturers do, in fact, sticker their machines with recommendations that you wear a helmet while in operation. Additional safety devices may include, but not exclude, headlights, taillights, brake lights, turn signals, a horn, seat belts, a roll cage, and all machines must be registered for on-road and off-road use. Second topic I was going to cover, usefulness. Things like lawn care, snow removal, groceries, restaurants, special events, citywide cleanups, dump runs, and even disaster relief. Hauling and removing grass clippings, flower bed care, such as watering and weeding, picking up sticks or tree limbs, anything you want to do in your yard, as well as the community and the city. These machines are able to fit plows, powered brushes, and snow blowers, and businesses use them regularly. The ability to pick up groceries, carryouts, going to your local restaurants and businesses. Community events such as youth baseball and softball tournaments, Ripon Fest, September Fest, Dickens of a Christmas, even the downtown music on the Village Green. They can all be assisted by using ATVs and UTVs. They carry large trash, other garbage to the city landfill. You can make dump runs with this. People could do this instead of having the city pick this up. ATVs and UTVs were used last summer during the storms and tornado that went through Ripon. They accessed downtown streets and where large service vehicles could not get through. They were used to check on your neighbors and offer other assistance following the storms. Third item I wanted to cover was some of the frequently asked questions that we hear about, whether the council has these or just in the general public. Insurance. All ATVs can be insured. Liability all the way up to full coverage. Tires. Tires on these machines are no different than your SUV or small economy car. They're an all-terrain tire. They're a soft compound. Cliffs here in town is now stocking tires just for this use, and they carry a set on hand all the time, as I discussed business with them. Road wear. An ATV is 200 to 300 pounds. A UTV can be up to 2,200 pounds. The average dump truck in town is 26,000 pounds and a semi is 80,000 pounds, where your average four-person passenger car is about 4,400 pounds. So you can tell me who does more damage driving across our roads. What about handling? Well, handling on an ATV is the responsibility of the driver, who must obey all traffic laws, any posted speed limits, signs, and other safety guidelines while operating. And vehicle awareness. How are people in the city going to understand to drive around these vehicles? Well, anyone driving a vehicle today has seen an ATV, UTV on the roads, outside of Ripon, around Ripon, and even within Ripon the city, as we currently have multiple ATV, UTV operations today for different services. Reacting to an ATV should be no different than a motorcycle or a scooter. Follow the traffic laws, respect each other and the right of way. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Jerry Darwin.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we doing tonight? My name is Gerald Darwin. I live at W2607 Fox River Shores in Berlin, Wisconsin. The reason I'm here tonight is to talk about ATV and dismiss some of these myths that people have about ATVs. It's come to my knowledge, since I've been doing this for the last over 4 years, I've been working with our group and other people to help implement this. I want you to know that I know it really seems hard that you're going to open this city up, but trust me, it's doable. Well, Pond is open. I don't know if you know that or not. They just opened the city of Toma, and everybody says, oh my God, they've got, Ripon has so much traffic with trucks and semis. Toma has a Walmart distribution center. They're riding over there. They've had 0 incidents so far. It's young. But I will bring up Marquette County. Marquette County has been doing this for over 7 years. I want every one of you to do your due diligence and take a ride over there some weekend on a Friday or a Saturday and look at the downtown, and then tell me it doesn't have a positive impact for the community. People, like this gentleman said before, they're grocery shopping, they're going to get fuel, they're doing these things. Most of the people that buy these machines, and these machines aren't cheap. I've got a $17,000 one, and that's a low end, side by side. They can go upwards of 40, 45, 50 grand you can stick in one of these machines. Okay, they're the size of a small car. If I pull up next to a smart car, my machine is as big or bigger than that smart car. So, and we have speed limits, and the rules are to be followed. And I'd ask you, we talked to Washoe County Sheriff Zolke and Marquette County Sheriff Conrath, and both of them had, as far as incident go, now again, Marquette County's been doing this for 7 years. It's not new to them. And Montello's been open, I believe, for 5.5 or 6. They've had very few incidences, that, I'm going to quote these guys. Just give me 1 second to find it. Again, the concerns that I've been hearing about are noise, vandalism, property damage, accidents, gangs, and other negative comments. So we decided to check this out by talking to these different sheriff's departments. Basically, they both quickly dispelled the opinions I had heard and taken on complaints and problems. 1 non-registered citation on private land. 2 OWIs. How many OWIs did you guys have in Ripon last month? There's only 2, and again, this has been going for 7 years. Other than that, there's not the Polaris Angels. They're not coming with chains and whips and going to take over your town. There might be a run where they'd have 8, 10 machines, and they'd come, a poker run or, to stop somewhere, or like your big community events. Like you guys have wonderful music in the park. I like to come to that, by the way. We come to Ripon a lot, my wife and I. So it'd just be nice to open up the city so that these people could drive to these functions. The other thing, too, you got to remember, if I'm not driving my Suburban or my wife's Honda minivan, if I'm in my four-wheeler, that's one less vehicle in town. I got a smaller vehicle, take up less parking space. So there's a lot of good reasons for it. And again, you're talking to the population that own these things. You know, it's not 18 or 16-year-old kids, you know, and you have to be 16 years of age. You have to have a valid driver's license. I want everybody to be aware of that. Please, again, go get the DNR book on all the rules and regulations for ATV use on roads. You have to have lights. You have to wear helmets if you're under 18 years of age. I think, you know, should everybody wear a helmet? You know, but anyway, you have to have insurance. So it's not like, you know, we're going to have a bunch of problems that way. And this, to dispel the myths of people running up and down streets doing wheelies and all that, we don't want that any more than you do. Our group actually, we actually police our own groups too. If we see somebody doing something, we mention it. We tell them, please stop, because you're ruining it for all of us. So I would ask that you'd at least give this a chance, you know, maybe open it up for a year and see what happens. You're not going to lose a nickel, and as a matter of fact, I think it'll have a positive impact on your city. So with that being said, I guess I'll give up the floor, but thanks again for listening to me. And again, my name is Jerry Down, I'm from Berlin, and tonight's the night, so thank you guys.
Thank you. Next is Steve Hopp.
Hi, my name is Steve Hopp. I am from Brandon, W12800 Oak Mountain Road, Brandon. I'm president of the Country Roads ATV Club, which was started in the Alto, Brandon, Waupun area about 2.5 years ago. Our mission was to work with the communities to open up the roads in a safe manner. We have 3 missions for our club: get the roads open, preach safety, and community service. Some of the community service events we've been able to do as a club is, well, this weekend we're having a poker run ride to support Reach in Waupun. Our hopes to raise $3,000 or $4,000 for them. Last year we were able to raise $1,550. We've had a fundraiser this summer with one of the schools to help them buy the all-access playground equipment. All because we've got riders and roads open to ride. It's more important for us to do the community service and give the community back what they've given us. We have wonderful support in Waupun. The amount of support we get on an event and donations from the businesses because they realize the impact that we have by coming to their businesses. The economic impact for the state of Wisconsin this year from ATV, UTV is expected to reach $1.2 billion. I think everybody wants a piece of that money in this economy. We have, as of March, because it's ever changing, 46,000 miles of roads, trails, and routes open in the state of Wisconsin, and over 500,000 registered machines. The amount of four-wheelers registered is either creeping up or surpassing snowmobiles quickly. It's a middle-aged, older person sport, I guess, if you will. Like I said before, the equipment is not cheap. Standard four-wheeler, it's just simple four-wheeler today can cost $8,000, $9,000 that we buy for $2,000 or $3,000. It's not a lot of kids running around that kind of money. So that's about all I got, just some facts, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next is Chad Ryder.
I am Chad Ryder, W11788 Hooley Road in Waupun. You've seen me before. I'm back. Thanks again for having us. I'm glad that it made it onto the agenda. I appreciate the votes that got it there, got it back on the agenda. Not a lot more I can say than what these guys have said. It's something that people can do in their community to get outdoors, spend time with their families, and have, good things to do instead of the kids sitting at home and watching their Xbox. They can be with their parents on their side-by-sides and things like that. Going to the businesses. Steve mentioned that we're having a fundraiser coming up this weekend. If you saw the list of donors and how much these businesses gave us for door prizes and things like that, you'd be shocked. And like Steve said, they wouldn't do that if they didn't see the value in it. If the folks that are using these ATVs and UTVs weren't coming to their businesses, they wouldn't be sponsoring stuff like this. So they truly see the value in it. I told you before, you see them at the grocery store, you see them at the hardware store, lots of different things that you can do with them. One of the things that, when the other gentleman was talking about all the different things that you can do with them, he missed one very important thing. Our club this past winter pulled Santa Claus in the holiday parade. So what more important use could you find than to put a big red lighted nose on Steve's side-by-side with a trailer, with a sleigh, and we pulled Santa Claus. So I don't know what more you could want than that. Thanks.
Thank you. And last is Candy Baker.
Good evening, everyone. Candy Baker, 575 Buyer Road in Ripon, Wisconsin. And I am here on behalf of our family's business because, to reiterate what the gentleman before me have said, I truly believe that this opportunity would be great for a lot of businesses in Ripon. Whether or not individuals using their ATV or UTVs necessarily stop at the business on that given piece of equipment, they get an opportunity to see our wonderful town, to visit our downtown, to drive by Webster's, to maybe come to a restaurant and then see all of the opportunities that we have here to offer, and come back and enjoy our town. And we believe in the abundance mentality. The best way to grow one's pie is to grow the whole circumference of Ripon, and I feel this opportunity would do just that. Continue to grow the opportunities in Ripon by which we all benefit. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right. Moving on to the acceptance of informal reports from standing committees and staff. Is there a motion to approve as published?
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Jonathan, seconded by David. Any discussion, or would anyone like to pull one?
I'd like to pull the police department, city administrator, and the wastewater reports.
Police Department, City Administrator, and Wastewater?
Yes,
So that's 6, 9, and 10 on the list?
I think so.
Yes.
Okay. Is that right to pull those, Jonathan, David?
Yeah.
Agree with that? Okay.
Yes.
All right, so motion is now to approve everything with the exception of 6, 9, and 10. Any discussion there? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those are approved. Doug, if you'd like to,
Yeah, I didn't see Chief Wallner here, but I'd like to, for the police department monthly report, I'd like to thank Officer Bonack for his training with library and city staff and active shooter training. And then on the wastewater department report, I think Jeremy Justice here. Jeremy? I'd like to point out the last line in the third paragraph that says the financial management section received the lowest grade because the utilities revenues do not cover the expenses. So I would like to point out that the city is working on, as far as I know, a major rate increase case. So I don't know when that's going to be approved or what the status is, but I think people out there listening ought to know their rates are going to go up, so that this utility is not going to be spiraling into a failure and having not good water system and stuff breaking down. So we do have about $10 million in upgrades to commit to over the next 10 years, including probably 2 new wells. I had a tour of well number 5, which is behind the Alliance, or the Alliant Energy maintenance base on Fitton Street. It's 90 years old, and it's our workhorse. So these things need to be upgraded and taken care of. Also, I would like to ask the on the City Administrator's report, I would like to ask about where the event on the 28th is going to take place at the college.
Let me get back to you on that one.
Okay.
I think it's
I think
East
it'll
Hall?
be East Hall.
East
In Little
Hall.
Theater.
Yes, East Hall. Jolene, where did you call Henrik?
Typically they are.
I think it will be filmed by the Ripon Channel.
Okay.
Can I also add that typically they are advertised in our local paper, the Ripon Commonwealth Press, so keep your eyes on that for the
Okay.
event.
I'm done, thank you.
Would you like to make a motion to approve those
I'd
now?
like to make a motion to approve, was it
6, 9, and 10.
6, 9, and 10 on the list?
Second.
Moved by Doug, seconded by Paige. Any further discussion on those three? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those are approved. Next is a consent calendar with only the common council minutes from August 22nd. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Second.
Moved by Paige, seconded by John. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is approved. Moving into our agenda items. First item is a pay application for the Senior Activities Center Trailhead Project. This is pay application number 5 for $443,844.78. City staff and MSA recommend approval.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Moved by David, seconded by Ellen. Any discussion?
No, question.
Go ahead.
About how far along is it? What percent completed does it add up?
We're on track. If you've driven past there, the siding is
Yes.
in
Yep.
and on. So it actually looks like a building now. So now it's kind of finishing off the inside. So full steam ahead in terms of October as a substantial completion date.
Okay.
And the dollar amount remaining is about a quarter of the total project. So this gets us about 3/4 of the way there.
But that was at the end of last month, so there's been work, so.
But for this bill, for this bill.
There was about 7 vehicles up there this morning when I drove by.
Could you remind me what the change orders were for 105,000?
Yeah, the change orders were all the trail work. So if you remember, we did the original bid because we wanted to lock that in, and then we paused for a month or so, and then came back and they froze that price. So that is all the trail.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions or discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the pay application number 5, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is approved. Next is an outdoor open container entertainment event permit application. This is from Ripon Main Street. They've applied for October 14th for an event called Ripon Rhythm and Brews. Craig, I believe I saw you here. If you'd like to step forward and give us a summary of the event.
Hello. So Ripon Rhythm and Brews is a new event that we're planning for Friday, October 14. It's based on the foundation of what we've done with wine walks. Only this one will have craft brews. Same thing. It'll be a number of tasting rooms and participating businesses. Participants will pick up a commemorative glass at the Ripon Chamber Main Street office, and they'll partake in roughly up to 14 samples, and there'll be 40 different beers to choose from. So just doing one more thing to bring people into the downtown, and just like the wine walk, we request the open container permits so that it's a little bit easier for the business owners to control.
Okay, I do have 2 questions for you right away. What's the size of the samples?
4 ounce, which is what a lot of the other communities do.
All right.
So we've reached out to places like Watertown and Fond du Lac and a number of other plations.
All right, and the other question I have, looking at the map here, you have entertainment on 100 block of Watson Street?
Possibly.
Possibly. Is that going to be a street closure then?
On that one side, if we progress with it.
Or just that half?
Correct.
Ellen?
Two-part question. You have 4-ounce pours over what period of time?
Over 3 hours,
And how many pours can you get?
up to 14.
That is over, that is binge drinking, just so you're aware.
How do you, it said 14 samples, there's 18 different places listed. Or an actual additional beer craft, so 1920. How do you regulate the 14?
It's just like a wine walk. You'll have a badge or a passport per se, and whenever you have a sample, it's checked off.
So you are clarifying that it really will be limited to those 14 samples?
Right. You have to pick and choose. So not everybody's going to like IPAs. Not everybody's going to like ales and stuff. So it's not everybody's going to want to try 40 samples.
14.
Well, I mean, if you could sample everything, somebody more than likely wouldn't, because
Yeah.
you're not going to like certain kinds of beer.
How many tickets are you selling?
We're hoping for 250, but I don't know if we'll exceed that. Right now, it's slow. I think that's because we haven't finalized the beverage list.
Okay.
So we're still wrapping up details. With it being the first one's always slower to take off. Like the wine walks, it took a couple years to get those going, and now they just sell out within a matter of days.
Okay.
I see here that soda and water will be available to all participants. Is that going to be each participating business is responsible for having?
Correct.
Okay. Because I know for a wine walk, myself and a few other people have sponsored the water at certain businesses. So it'll be the same where there's a non-alcoholic option at every place.
Right.
Okay, great.
And possibly some NA beers as well,
That
but
would be
I'm not, we're still working those details out.
That would be amazing.
Since we are talking about NA beers, I want to give a shout out to Bettina V's new facility where they're serving alcohol. They have some high quality NA beer. And I know our local grocery store and places too. It's neat to see the NA beers being offered. 2 pages point in what you just said, where it says, please describe in future applications, where it says soda or water will be available to all participants attending the event. Maybe I might add, if you do plan to have it at each location where alcohol is being served, to say at each location. That would help clarify that.
Okay.
Thanks.
Any questions or comments?
I'll make a motion to approve the permit.
Second.
Moved by David, seconded by Howard. Discussion? Further questions for Craig? Thank you, Craig.
Thank you.
There's no further discussion. All those in favor of approving this application, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
It is approved. Thank you. Moving on to sewer system cleaning and televising proposal. Jeremy, would you like to give a rundown on this one? Thank you.
So I guess I would just like to say that the work included in this proposal is needed terribly. Emergency sewer backup calls are becoming more frequent and expensive. Normally, this type of planned sewer cleaning should be taking place every single year in rotating sections of the city on a 4 to 6 year basis. And televising should occur every other year in the same section, or every other time in the same section. Sadly, this hasn't happened in Ripon since 2019. Prior to this meeting, we received 3 proposals from companies for cleaning and televising for about a quarter of the city's sanitary sewer system. Out of the 3, the proposal from Speedy Clean Drain and Sewer was chosen at the recent Public Works Committee meeting to bring to council. Speedy Clean did conduct the last planned sewer cleaning in 2019 and has done most of our emergency backup calls since then. We've become familiar with the company and the operators and found their work to be thorough and efficient. This was a previously unbudgeted service that we would like to pull from the sewer infrastructure budget account, as that has been unused this year, but also going forward, a portion of the budget does need to be dedicated to, for this type of service every single year. Any consideration and your support or approval would be appreciated.
Thank you, Jeremy.
I would like to make a motion to accept the sewer system cleaning and televising proposal.
Thank you.
I will second.
Moved by Ellen, seconded by Paige. Any discussion or questions?
Question. If you, if when they're televising and they find a crack or a plug or whatever, then does the city repair it immediately, or
I
is it
guess
just put on a
it would
list?
depend on the severity of what was found. And that'll kind of be up to our own determination as well, I guess.
And then do you have a targeted area that that you know are bad, you're gonna start with, or?
So we're I guess the southeast section of
Okay.
the city.
That's the
and-
whole section?
Yeah, that whole section would be cleaned and televised. And then future years, it would move to another section of the city and then rotate on a yearly basis.
And that is probably the worst part of the city, you think? Is
That
why
part
you're
is the
starting there?
worst part of the city
Okay.
because there's concentrated dead ends in that area.
Okay.
How do we avoid in the future? But I guess maybe it's, now that you're bringing this to this, and in your newer role, I'm so grateful that you bring this to us. I guess my point is, how do we avoid in the future that we don't go for years where we're not doing something that is recommended?
I mean, I guess as long as I'm here, this is going to happen. For it to happen every year, so.
Thank you.
No, there's also a CMOM for the sewer system that we technically should be on a rotating schedule be doing this. So this will become a regularly, maybe not every year we're televising, but we're cleaning a portion of the system every year in a cycle. So we don't miss. So it'll just be built in.
Well, unfortunately, I think the nation as a whole, and Ripon in particular, have been lax in maintenance of all infrastructure. This is infrastructure. This is not the sexiest infrastructure, sorry. But I think we have good leadership in recommending that these sorts of things become ingrained in our annual and day-to-day business as a city. We don't want to have a massive failure and not know what occurred.
Yes.
And to Doug's point earlier in the meeting about rates going up, this is one of the reasons why it will be going up, because we have to maintain our system or it will fail. You've seen around the country systems failing regularly. I think city of Jackson, Mississippi is on day 10 of no water of a city that size, so we have to prevent that. So thank you for your work, Jeremy. Any further questions or discussion?
Good job.
Hearing none, all those in favor of approving this proposal, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? As approved. All right, next is the creation of an ad hoc committee on the employee handbook and benefits. In your packet was a description of the committee. Makeup would be myself, 2 council members, city administrator, and the finance director / assistant city administrator. Would there be a motion to approve this committee?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion made by Doug, second by Ellen. Any discussion?
Who are the 2 council members?
It's going to
We
be
had
a
a-
second motion, is that what you're seeking? Separate motion on that issue?
Yeah.
I mean,
So
That's what I assumed in your
are we just going to
preamble.
approve this and then
Volunteer?
Battle it out.
get volunteers from there, or do we want to?
we had a couple of volunteers.
We already have a couple of volunteers, right? So,
So the action item is to create the committee, and the second action item will be to appoint 2 council representatives. So we're voting on the first.
okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the creation of the ad hoc committee.
That's, motion's already
We
made.
have a motion on the floor.
Seconded.
It's already been seconded.
We're waiting to vote on it.
Would you like to add to discussion? No? All right, then we'll, Jolene?
I can see why it's perhaps not needed, because it's really about the nuts and bolts of the city. But if there was a community member that wanted to serve, I do know that the committee, there isn't a position for an interested community member. Is there a specific reason why? Or we just thought that no one would be interested?
The reason why is because this is an employer-employee relationship.
Okay.
It's an internal document.
Yes.
Okay, I can see that.
Anyone else? Hearing no more discussion, all those in favor of creating this ad hoc committee, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is approved. Now, let's figure out who's going to be on this thing.
Are there
I
any
know-
volunteers?
I know at the last meeting, Paige and Ellen volunteered.
I've also emailed Adam and said I'd volunteer too.
Okay.
It doesn't matter to me. I've got enough to do. I've just done these before, so doesn't matter. I'm not getting in a dogfight over this one.
Well, in that case, I mean, you're all certainly qualified to do it, so,
Draw names out of a hat. You got 3 people.
Yeah.
we could do that. I'm all right
Easiest,
with
fairest way to do it.
I'm all right with a completely random thing.
I'm okay with withdrawing if there's other, I wasn't sure there were going to be many volunteers, so, if you two are all for it, you guys can have it.
Thanks.
There we go.
I just didn't expect this to be like anyone volunteering.
I would say over the next 2 or 3 months, there's probably going to be 2 or 3 meetings, and that will hopefully be the extent of it. It's not a huge commitment. We would just try to pick a time and go, and try to hammer out a lot of it. We would just give you a copy of the existing handbook ahead of time to review, before we meet first, and then go through changes. So, I don't, we just need 2 of you. We can draw a hat. We can.
Doesn't matter.
Whatever.
I have a question.
Mhm.
And just for, if you're not on, all of the changes will be, have a final approval from our whole council, correct?
Yes, so basically, we just, from an administrative standpoint, bringing more eyes to it, bringing the council on board, the mayor, and then also having the layer of sharing changes with an employee review board before they come to the council is kind of the whole process. But, it's a comprehensive review of the entire document for the first time in over a decade. So it could take a little more time than what I said, but I think we have a good start on it internally. So whoever's really interested in this stuff, I don't care. We just
Can I nominate people? I'd like to nominate Iverson and Sorensen.
There we go.
Well, if you're withdrawing,
Yeah.
then I will.
That's her motion.
I will.
That's the motion. Let's go with the motion.
All right.
Make that a motion.
Yes, I would like to make a motion.
I'll
to
second it.
appoint- Okay.
Any discussion? No? All those in favor of Ellen and Doug being the 2 council representatives on the ad hoc committee, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? They are our members.
welcome aboard.
Thank you. All right. Next one, we see this one every year or 2. Ordinance establishing a municipal court. For those of council members that are new here, Lud, would you like to explain this one?
This evolved shortly after Chief Lukuski moved on and Chief Waldner took over, that we went from a circuit court to a municipal court. And as you can see, there are a number of participants in this. We, in the prosecution area, have been very happy with the municipal court procedures. It has simplified things. It has cut down on overtime and travel, running back and forth from Fond du Lac. So it has worked for the city of Ripon. And so from time to time, they expand their membership, and that's what this is doing, adding a couple of new ones. And the new members are the towns of Auburn, Calumet, Friendship, and Fond du Lac County. And then they're even expanding further out into the town of Wilson, which our city administrator is familiar with, that area. And so when that happens, the way they structured this thing is every time they do add, you need to re-up that you want to be involved in this. I think the only loose end would be moving into another county beyond Green Lake and the ones in our immediate vicinity. But at the end of the day, it's one, and the election of the judge is not for another maybe 2 years. Is that correct, Bill?
2 years.
Yep. And so here you are, just moving forward with something that needs to be amended. That's all.
I would move that we do the ordinance establishing a municipal court.
Second.
Moved by Ellen, seconded by John.
I also wanted to add what Attorney Wirtz said, that in addition to the efficiency of the municipal court, the city also recovers a higher percentage of revenue because the state fees are not attached to the fines that are handed out. So circuit court really does suck up all the revenue, and municipal court does not. So from a fiduciary standpoint, it's a wiser way to go.
Well, we seem to be growing a little faster than NATO here. Is there going to be a problem with this, with this getting this big?
Only that expanding into another county would probably be the only concern. And
So, yeah, and I talked to the court and I said the same thing because I'm familiar with the town of Wilson. It's where I grew up. It's an hour and 20 minutes away from Fond du Lac, so it was a bit of a concern. And the court, over a period of time, has gained members, lost members. Rosendale was in, now they're out.
Okay.
So they're looking to replace some of that and grow the court. This is something that they have said they've wanted to do. I specifically asked about Sheboygan County, and the court reassured me that that is a decision that they're willing to come into this, being that far away. They understand the ramifications of that.
Right, because they're going to have to go to North Fondy.
Yes,
Right? I mean,
they're gonna
everything
have to-
stays the same.
They're traveling.
Yep.
For us.
Yep, but no one else, and the reason they have joined is because no one in Sheboygan County is willing to take them on into their court.
Okay.
So, I mean, I think from an overall workload, it's not going to be a tremendous amount. Town of Wilson, a lot of these townships don't have police forces or anything like that. So they're going to be, your zoning infractions and your junk property type stuff.
Right.
So the impact on the overall workload of the court will be minimal. And they're just trying to, I think, replace some of the revenue and stuff that they lost with Rosendale, as well as, there are courts that are lobbying members in our own court here to join them. I mean, because they think they can do it better. But this court is running very efficiently, and there's really no concern of adding these members.
Okay.
Anyone else?
I have a question. Let's say it turns out to be a concern in 2 years or so when we have to redo this, could we ever state that someone is out?
I mean, it's not every 2 years that this even happens. It's just whenever someone wants to join, it will come back to every municipality, and every municipality has to pass the same exact ordinance and the same exact intergovernmental collaboration agreement. If somebody leaves, we have to pass the ordinance getting them out. I don't think there'll ever be a time where somebody says, we want this one out. We kind of all serve on a board. We meet like once a year. It's all run out of North Fond du Lac. So, unless it's somebody gets a bad taste in their mouth over something, I think this will be the court, and it will continue to try to grow moving forward.
Anyone else? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the ordinance establishing a municipal court, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is approved. And this next one goes hand in hand with it. Intergovernmental agreement for North Fond du Lac to provide municipal court services to that municipal court ordinance.
I will move that we approve the intergovernmental agreement for North Fond du Lac to provide municipal court services.
I'll second.
Moved by Ellen, seconded by Paige. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the intergovernmental agreement, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is approved. All right, next item. Is there a motion to take off the table the ordinance to create section 1335 all-terrain and off-road vehicles?
I'd like to make a motion to untable, the,
Oh, hold on a second, Doug.
yes.
I made a small mistake on that last ordinance. We need to do a roll call vote on the municipal court one. I apologize. So this is the motion for, the
Item
first
5.
motion establishing,
Ordinance.
yeah,
item
the first,
5,
the,
establishing.
yeah, ordinance number 5, establishing a municipal court, must be a roll call vote. So let's please back up to that, and we'll do a roll call vote.
All right, so this is back to agenda item 5, establishing a municipal court. Iverson,
Yes.
Schatzinger,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Gallops,
Yes.
Kane,
Yes.
Gotsky,
Yes.
Sorensen,
Aye.
Split,
Yes.
still passed.
Thank you. Sorry about that. All right. I missed that note. Okay, so back to untabling. We have the motion to untable from Doug. Is there a second?
Second.
Second is Paige. Before we get started on this discussion, I just want to remind everyone in the room and at home that we are here to represent our constituents. However, we, as a council, have access to more information and should have done more research, so we will make a decision on that information, which will probably be against what some people want to hear. One side or the other is not going to be happy. That being said, the comments that I have received are very much skewed to one side. For every one comment of in favor, I've gotten between 30 and 40 against. Again, we have access to a lot more information than the people that are making those comments, so it is up to you to decide. So take into consideration all the information that you've heard and the research you've done, and the decision that we make will be a decision we make with the best information that we have. With that, I'll open it up to discussion.
And the
Don't we
discussion is simply to take it off the table.
Okay.
So we're not debating the ordinance at this point in time, but
Correct.
your comments are well-spoken.
Correct.
But
They
the-
should have been in
Yeah.
a few minutes.
Yep,
So,
that's fine. But
the motion is to take off the table.
correct.
For that, there will be no discussion. A simple roll call vote for taking it off the table. Adam.
Iverson,
Yes.
Schatzinger,
Pass.
Hanson,
Yes.
Gallops,
Yes.
Kane,
Yes.
Gotsky,
Yes.
Sorensen,
No.
Split,
Yes.
Schatzinger.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-1.
Thank you. All right, it is off the table. Now we may discuss the ordinance. Ellen.
I have a two-part comment. We've heard from 5 people this evening, only 2 of which live in the city of Ripon. From the time I took out papers to run for this office until about 2 hours before the meeting, my constituents in District 1 have unanimously been opposed to UTVs and ATVs on city streets. So I would like the council to consider a referendum for the spring election to let people, the citizens of Ripon, determine whether or not they want this, because we are hearing from a plethora of people who do not live in Ripon. That's it.
Did you have a second part?
That's the second part, is the recommendation that we consider a referendum on the spring ballot as to not incur any additional expenses for the city.
All right, thank you. Paige?
Since we've discussed this last, in doing my own research and as someone who does own a UTV and uses trails, who was originally not in favor of city usage, I see a lot of common themes in the support of allowing them within the city limits. I think the amount of some keywords that I've written down: the passion, accountability, community, education, consistency, outreach, safety, family, fundraising, all of that. This has been by far the most widely educating thing that I think I've encountered from people who are involved and just as constituents or those who have worked with other communities to make this a possibility. I think the stress on safety and education, I think, is the most important thing. We do all have this notion, and I still do, even though I know that that's not the case. There is that, that 80s hooligan, the wheelies, the doing donuts in the dirt fields and stuff like that. It sounds, especially with kind of the community policing, that is not something that that anyone who is an active, avid user of these machines would allow. I think it's not going to be 12-year-olds. That's illegal. It's it's a vehicle that's being operated. I think, and hearing from local businesses, I think it's, especially in the winter, I think it's a great opportunity to increase the tourism in our downtown district, because people that do this, it's fun in the winter. It's like snowmobiling, where you want to be out in the cold going fast to go places that you're not going to get in your car to go. So I think, especially in the winter, it could provide a great benefit for the businesses in Ripon. So.
John, then Jolene.
Just a question, is there any way we can take out and ban the ATV that you straddle the old and then have the handlebars? Ban those and allow UTVs side by side with a cab and lights and all that.
One way we could do that is to put in the ordinance that all operating vehicles require headlights, turn signals, brake lights, and seat belts. Those four-wheelers that are just the kind you straddle don't have seat belts.
And that was my next question. I would like to require directional lights instead of using hand signals. If we can do that in the ordinance, I don't know if we can, if we have the right to do. I know we don't allow golf carts, so we can say we don't allow straddle-on, whatever the ATVs are called, I don't know.
So just to be clear, so in the ordinance, there are two definitions. There's a definition of an ATV and there's a definition of a UTV. Both of those are taken basically exclusively from state statute. DNR in the state of Wisconsin considers, from a regulation or a licensing standpoint, I believe both of these to be the equivalent vehicles. So they go through the same process. I had the conversation with Dave earlier today about this same question. And I think it's something that you can obviously consider. The caution, I would say, is, every sign that you have to sign things, every sign has an ATV, so how, we have to be very careful that we're doing this in a uniform way, so it's not causing a problem, because all the signage that you put up is, generally made to say ATVs, or even the ones that are, ATV route this way with a little picture on it is an ATV. It looks like an ATV. So those would be my only comments on that question. They do license ATVs to the equivalent of UTVs from a state perspective, and it could cause some confusion and enforcement issues.
Mm-hmm. I think it'd be something that they could get used to, and they would find out in a hurry that those are not allowed in Ripon. Getting to the signs also, cost is done by not by the city?
We would have to work, there's no club that has stepped forward at this point. No
Okay.
one has stepped forward to say that signs would be covered by anybody. But I'm assuming that clubs would
do
step
it.
up to do that. And they're shaking their head behind you saying yes.
And they also install?
Yes, I would
just didn't want-
require that or ask that of them.
Right.
We would prefer that.
Okay.
Okay.
Jolene.
So this is when we can make suggestions of changes on the proposed ordinance.
This is like workshopping now.
Yeah,
We took it
good.
off the table, now it's
Okay.
for the council to take a look at. There's no motion on the floor, and I think that's the appropriate way for this to be handled. We've already had suggestions for modifications to the draft that you have in front of you, which is only a draft and wasn't intended to be acted on this evening, just as a guide, and we've already had a council representative say that he would like to see this changed.
So some other ideas for changes would be, or just, I noticed that one of the speakers we had in public comment mentioned that the weight of mini UTVs is 2,200 pounds, I believe, and here it says a weight is 2,000 pounds or less. So that is something we probably should clarify moving forward.
I had the same thought from the comment.
Okay, and then staying in that same section, C3A, but now it's, let's see, under 5, 6, 7, 8. Just the word retraining should be restraining. A system of seatbelts or a similar system for restraining, I assume, versus retraining, just a simple spelling thing there. Under D, 2D, I'd like to request where it says yield the right-of-way to other vehicles. Maybe bicycles are included in vehicles. It says vehicles, pedestrians, and electrical personal assistive mobility devices. I don't know, I guess maybe this is a question for you, our attorney, is bicycles considered a vehicle?
Yes.
Or would we recommend adding that?
I would have no problem adding bicycles.
Bicycles
clear.
have to follow the rules of the road and they are considered
So they're
a vehicle.
considered vehicles once they're
Yeah.
operating on a roadway.
Yes.
Okay.
So with that, so here it says yield the right of way. I looked at a number of other municipalities and their ordinances. They had that similar language, right there, yield the right of way, but it was not under, this we place under that while crossing a bridge. That very statement was listed under operating. So I think that does seem to make sense, that you would yield to other vehicles. And they had that under, operating, that statement. So my suggestion might be to just copy that and also add that under operating. And then I also had another city, this is just for, I want some, maybe comments, maybe from my other colleagues, about this statement that I saw in the city of Medford. It says, no owner or person having charge or control of an ATV, UTV shall authorize or permit any person to operate such ATV, UTV who is not permitted under state law or city ordinance to operate such ATV, UTV, or who is under the influence of an intoxicant or a dangerous narcotic drug. That seems to make a lot of sense, and saw that from another city. And then last but not least, and this is something, again, I would look to our city attorney. I've seen a number of other cities have something, and they call this particular city called it severability. Maybe this is assumed in all of our ordinances, but I'll just read what
It
this.
is. In other words, we can add that. It says if something in this ordinance is declared unconstitutional or against state law, the rest of the ordinance stands.
Yeah,
So we
so
could
should we add something like that in this?
We could have severability in it.
Okay. And then I will just say that so I've got a lot of mixed comments from my constituents, and talking also to local business owners. I will say that looking at this ordinance, and especially with some of the changes that I have proposed, and my understanding too is that I had people concerned about cruising, that we already have a city ordinance about general cruising in any vehicle, so that would not be a concern. We also, already have that in place, that cruising back and forth would not be allowed, even though it's not explicitly stated in this ordinance. I think that this ordinance is well-written. Has a lot of good safety features in this, and I would propose that we consider doing a 1 year, looking at this, seeing how it goes. And I think, is that, I guess informally called a sunset clause, is that what, or?
Yes.
So I would propose that, if this is something that my colleagues would like to pass, that we revisit this in 1 year, and see if this is something to continue, rather than just having this, for forever. I think that would be a really smart thing to do.
Howard?
Going back to one of John's statements, if you looked at D1, number 7 on the bottom, it does say no parking on the 1, 2, or 300 blocks of Watson Street, that they already use the municipal parking lots. So that would eliminate using up the spaces down there in that aspect. Another point is, there is a big difference between a UTV and an ATV. Size-wise, operational method. I ride my brother's UTV all the time at his place. I've ridden his ATV. It's totally different. An ATV is similar in handling and operational as a snowmobile. They're basically the same setup. So we don't allow snowmobiles on our streets. I really would not have a problem with UTVs, but as like John, ATVs I would be against in that aspect. I have not been contacted by one individual in town in favor of this. Everybody that has contacted me has been against it, whether they've stopped in my store or emailed me or called me. I really think we need to consider this, but not rush into anything, and make sure that we cover our bases. Last time, the gentleman, I believe from Waupun, was here, he said that all county roads in the county are accessible, but the city of Fond du Lac is not. We're the second largest city in the county, so we really have to take that into consideration. Unlike Waupun, who has one main road that goes through it, we have 3 major highways that intersect in our community with excessive amount of traffic, much more than Waupun. Waupun, pretty much everything is skirted by 151. So they have that luxury there. So we really need to consider it, discuss this, and not rush into it. Thank you.
Good. David?
All right, I made some calls to some dealerships, and it's the same thing that John was talking about, how he's talking about the ATVs are not made for the streets. They don't, there's stickers on it, it has the balloon tires. It should not be on the street. So they're made to be in the woods. And I believe if we do anything with UTVs, no way ATVs on the streets. The other thing the dealers told me is this is getting big. And he said right now it's 75-25 UTVs to ATVs because of guys that we have sitting here right now. And they're very responsible, and I believe one of them said one of them had a vehicle the size of a smart car. And I've driven these things. They're a little car. And they're completely safe. They have everything on them that they need, and they're meant to be driven on pavement. They actually handle worse if you take them out in the woods. They don't do as well. So I'd be willing to go that way, but no way on the ATVs. So.
Cute.
And I like what Jolene's saying about changing the amendments on there too, to make sure that we got all that in there and clean this up.
I'm going to Doug, then I'll come back to you, John.
I guess one of the things I intensely dislike about UTV, ATV is the bifurcated citation system that the state has decided to do. So you could drive your car, get a citation for whatever. That's on the motor vehicle side. You could get in your UTV, ATV, get a citation, and that's on the DNR side. So you could get points on one, points on both, but they don't,
Crossover.
they don't count together, which to me is just mind-boggling. And I'm sure most UTV people are going to be fine. The other thing I dislike is that we don't want snowmobiles. And I get it, snowmobiles are a little bit lower to the ground, harder to see maybe. UTV is bigger, ATV is kind of in between, but we've been adamant against having snowmobile trails at the high school. But we don't want people to go down the street with a snowmobile. No one expects it, and you hit somebody backing out of the driveway. I would be totally against the ATVs. UTVs are bigger, so I guess I'm open to, the amendments that Jolene has suggested seem to be good to me. Maybe if we do this, we should come back a year after if we decide to do this and look at it and see what kind of statistics we have, if it's a problem or not. I don't think it's not going to be that big an economic gain for the city, to be honest with you. But, I'm willing to listen some more, so that's all I got.
Okay. John?
Yeah, I'd just like to add that the hand signals versus directional lights, in 1972, I believe the state of Wisconsin mandated all motorcycles have directional lights. So that's a long time ago, 50 years ago, that they wanted directional lights. So to me, again, with the ATVs, with hand signals, it doesn't cut it for me.
Jonathan?
I guess my preference, for what it's worth, is that we wouldn't be approving it the way that it stands and come back in a year and revisit it, like Jolene had said. Doing the math, I feel like we lose that battle. I lose that battle because I'm counting up here. But so my request then is if we strike ATV and the UTV, and that's what we agree on, maybe we can come back in a year and revisit the ATV portion of it as well. So I don't know if that can be in the ordinance or if that's just informally we come back.
I think if you sunset it, you're starting over no matter what, and if you want to add something at that point, you would add it at that point, if that's the will of the body.
Doug, then John.
I think we should come back with changes in the ordinance, or come back at next council meeting at the end of the month and just decide whether we're going to do it or not.
John?
Yep, I agree with Doug. We should come back next month or next meeting with the changes. Now I just forgot my other. I'll think of it, just go to somebody else.
Okay. Paige.
Chief Wallner, if this is, or some version of this ordinance is passed, would we be able to get a report with the monthly reports specifically for any violations pertaining to UTVs?
Certainly.
Okay, just to, kind of see where we're at. I think that would be very, very beneficial.
I got a question for
Yeah,
the
you
chief.
got me up to the podium.
So if you're going to track this, and
I'm sorry, what?
if we're going to track the citations for a UTV, who's going to handle the citation? Is the municipal court going to be able to handle that?
Yeah, so currently as it stands, if there's violations within the city that involve any type of ATV, we would probably refer those to like the DNR to come in and enforce or to give us some guidance on that. The ordinance identifies who enforces these violations. That is us. So that would go through our municipal court system, just like a traffic ticket would. It's the same process. However, we're writing the violations under the ordinance violation. It's not a specific DNR violation. If it's a violation that's incorporated under this ordinance, it's an ordinance violation. That answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ellen, did you have a question? No? Jolene?
Since you're here, I was going to ask about in 311, it said headlights must always be operational. And I wondered if you felt like that was clear enough. The reason I ask is, again, as I peruse other cities' ordinances, I saw that one of them wrote, headlights shall be on at all times. Must always be operational, theoretically, could be unclear, you know, that, is it means that they're gonna turn it on, so it could be operational? Or would you like it to say, headlights shall be on at all times? Is there a preference?
There's no preference by me. I think on at all times is fine. If you wanted to make that change.
Motorcycles have to have a headlight on at all times.
Exactly.
And for me, reading it, I think on at all times is much more clear.
Than visible. So operational and on at all times.
Done.
In the definitions, number 3 on utility terrain vehicle, it says the weight, the steering wheel, tail light, brake light, 2 headlights, and then the width not more than 65. Why doesn't it say directional lights, or don't they come with directional lights? I don't have any idea.
They claim they do.
I don't have an answer for that.
Yeah, I know.
I'll direct this question to one of the gentlemen from the clubs. Do they come with directional lights?
Some do, some don't.
And this, the definition that you're seeing there for UTV, remember, I think city administrator said that's the definition from the DNR statute. So that's probably where that's taken from.
And that has changed as of last year. The weights and sizes have changed.
Okay. So we'll need to update that.
Do you know what the current weight is on there?
UTVs is 3,000 and four-wheelers, I believe, went up to 900.
I do have a question. My question, Chief, and maybe Lud, is if a fine is given and it goes to municipal court, who splits the money? Does the DNR get part of the fund money? Does it stay in Ripon? And then the fees for the municipal court?
It would be it would be the same as if you were issued a citation for littering.
And that's good to know. I'm not.
The DNR does not get.
The DNR, and as Doug alluded to earlier, there's a bifurcation, and that can be confusing.
And those citations are handled through the circuit court.
Right.
Right. So this is a municipal ordinance violation. It's a violation of an ordinance.
So there's no split in the fine? Okay.
Correct.
Jolene?
Before we had drafted, we talked about this last time, an ordinance, and so not knowing what would be in it, I had a big concern that someone could lose their license due to, drunk driving, to not be able to drive their vehicle, but could still drive their UTV or ATV. However, I guess what I commend, and I just want to also, we've talked, Chief, and to say that that would not be allowed with our current ordinance, because as a city, if we keep in there, as it's now written, the operators must have a valid driver's license. So I guess I just want to point out that I commend our city for having that, because if a city did not add that, I think it would stand that you could drive and have your license have been revoked with a car. So that would be correct. You could not do that now because of our ordinance as it's stated.
Correct. It's a violation of the ordinance.
John?
This question is for the men in the back, the audience. Do most of your ATV or UTVs have directional lights? Have you added them?
Most people do. Most people do. So like with mine in particular, in Canada, my exact same machine comes with directionals. And in the new ones, the 22s, I guess they have it so that all you gotta do is put the switch and the blinker in, and it is, they work.
It's about if you don't have them and you want to add them, the kit could run anywhere from $200 to $500, and it could cost you about $400 or $500 to have it installed at the dealership. So it's inexpensive.
I'd like to add one thing too, because are you the police chief, sir?
I am.
Okay. I would like to add this, in your ordinance, please do your due diligence, check with the other townships and the state of Wisconsin and the other sheriff's department, because that's one thing that the ATV clubs want. We want it straight across the board, so that if I come here, I'm not breaking any laws. I'm doing what, everybody's doing the same thing. So when you write your ordinance, make sure the laws are followed by everybody. So if I come from Green Lake, it's the same here as it is in Green Lake.
Yeah, I agree with that. Sometimes that can be difficult to do based on the jurisdiction and obviously you've heard a lot of discussion tonight here about prospective changes in this ordinance. I believe the original draft for this ordinance, we got the basics from it from Amro, I believe.
Correct.
Okay, so they've had theirs in place for some time. Some of the things, I'll address some things that I've been asked and some concerns that have come up. One of the concerns was about routes. You know, we hear that term. This ordinance opens up every roadway within the city as a route. So we're not doing, you have to drive on West Fond du Lac to Watson and that's it. From an enforcement standpoint, that makes enforcement a lot easier. The communities that I've talked to that designated specific routes or specific roadways only run into all kinds of enforcement issues with that. Communities that have done that, when I've talked to those chiefs, have told me, don't do that, open all your roads. The thing that's significant for us when we talk about that is that we do not have any roadways in our community that have a speed excess of 35 miles per hour. They're all posted 35 miles an hour or less. So that allows us to do that, even West Fond du Lac Street. If West Fond du Lac Street was posted 45 miles an hour, we would have to exclude that or make some changes there. So that's one thing that needs to just be addressed there so that people are aware of that. I've had some questions in reference to noise, loud noise, those type of things. There is specific statutes in reference to that under the DNR requirements. I think if you look under C3C after the equipment, the very last one talks about restrictions on equipment, conforms with all noise regulations under Chapter 23, which is the DNR statute in regards to, or the state statute in regards to ATVs, UTVs. There's specific statute in there that requires that all ATVs, UTVs must have a muffler. We also can enforce that under a separate ordinance for us, under our disorderly conduct with a motor vehicle for loud and excessive noise or vehicles that aren't equipped with mufflers. That's specifically addressed under our disorderly conduct with a motor vehicle violation. So that addresses that issue. There was some conversation tonight about age limits, and Jolene did address a little bit of that as far as the valid driver's license. So we've set that in this ordinance at 16. You have to be 16 years of age or older with a valid driver's license to be able to operate. In addition to that, if you are between the ages of 16 and 18, you are required to wear a helmet. If you are the operator of the ATV between 16 and 18 and there's anybody else in the UTV with you, they're required to wear a helmet. So those are some safety issues as far as the age restrictions and driver's licenses that we wanted to address. One of the things that was also brought up to me that's been in discussion and we've had some conversation was about parking in the downtown area. Obviously, we've had lots and lots of discussions about parking and parking spaces in the downtown area. We've had some conversation with Ripon Main Street and those businesses down there. They understand, they're on board with the not permissible in the 1, 2, or 300 block of Watson Street. However, those side streets and all the municipal parking lots would be open, just not in the 1, 2, and 300 blocks. Obviously, they all need to be registered through the Department of Natural Resources, have a proof of insurance with them. One of the other, or two of the final items that I just wanted to bring up real quick that have been addressed to me, hours of operation. We're looking at 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. as hours of operation, and that's pretty consistent from what we've been hearing. Additionally, 3 or more violations in a 16-month period starting from the first date of violation would result in a revocation of privileges to operate on any city street. So if you have a problem person who is continually violating the ordinance, in other words, you know, these gentlemen have talked about policing their own. You have somebody that's continually violating the ordinance, they have 3 or more violations in a 16-month period, their privilege to operate is revoked. So if we see them operating after those violations, we can issue them citations based on this section in this. And I think that, I don't think there's anybody here that would disagree with that, the need to do that. So, those are some of the things that were brought up to me on discussions, some of the things that we wanted to make sure that we included in the ordinance as we took a look at it. And that's kind of, you know, we've talked at length, myself, city administrator, city attorney, about the ordinance, and that's kind of where we're at with your changes that you would recommend.
Thank you, Chief. Any further discussion? Or should we send this back to administrator and attorney to craft a new ordinance?
We'll come back in 2 weeks from now or so with an ordinance. I would just ask one, we'll remove ATV, ATV language from one. We'll have 2 drafts. One will include ATVs, one will not include ATVs. We just got to do some more research on that, I think, Lud. But we'll draft some language and get it out to you for review, hopefully long ahead of the meeting, just to make sure that everybody has a view at it, and we can make any changes quick ahead of it again. So we'll do that.
I'll make a motion that we do send this back for changes and updates, and then be brought back to council for further discussion.
And with the 2 options as
Right, with
identified
the
by
split of ATV.
And
No
eliminating
ATV, and then ATV, UTV.
Yeah, we got to look at that.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
Okay, moved by Howard, seconded by David. Any discussion on sending this back for reworking?
I would just like to say thank you for all of the education that we've been provided through mainly our loyal attendees here. But it really makes it a completely different conversation when the main goal seems to be to educate us to make an informed decision as opposed to just pushing for a yes. So I would just like to thank everyone for that and for their patience and understanding as we navigate this further.
Anyone else? Hearing no one, all those in favor of sending this back for reworking, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
It is approved to send for reworking. See it again soon. All right. Thank you for the discussion. All right, moving on to project updates and staff reports. Public Works. Police Department. Water. Oh.
Can you ask? Can I ask? I mean, water, do we not want to say anything about a recent water?
There was a water outage on Houston Street area. One of the main problems we're experiencing in the city is directional boring companies coming through and boring through our utilities. That happened today. Water was restored at around 1:30 for the majority of the area. I don't know if it's been restored for all of the area, so that is still an issue we are dealing with. It will be on when we can get it on. It is not our fault. It is somebody else's fault.
Subcontractor.
And if you're driving on Houston Street tonight, be careful. There's a giant hole just off to the side.
So we've been dealing with that. Public Works Committee knows with bonding requirements, and we have more people drilling underground than we ever have, and they're hitting stuff. So it's Mike's worst nightmare. And Jeremy's now too.
Jeremy's now too.
And a lot of that stuff isn't marked. You know, maps are old. What we have, there's stuff that hasn't been marked in 20, 30, 40 years, and you know, it happens all the time. My son does drilling for a living and runs into that, so it's something that's just gonna happen.
Do you have any reports, updates?
You have my report.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. All right, I
Do you have a question?
I had a question.
Go ahead.
We going to be talking about proposed Parks and Rec Director?
That will be late. Yep, that'll be at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Try to set that up for you all, like
Yeah.
as a.
Okay, I have a few nomination or appointments tonight. First one is for Plan Commission. It is John Hayter. This would be to fill a
Harden.
Sorry. Harden. John Harden. I got to put the right glasses on. John Harden, be an appointment to fill a vacant term ending April 30th, 2023.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Moved by David, seconded by Jolene. Any discussion? Jolene?
I'd like to add that I've gotten to know John Harden, who is currently the assistant professor in the political science department at Ripon College. He has stated he is very interested in getting involved in local government, and I believe has been involved in New York City in local government. So I'm looking forward to having him be part of our government here in Ripon.
Thank you. Anyone else? None. All those in favor of approving John Harden to the Plan Commission, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved, thank you. Next is to the Ripon Community Media Committee, Maddie Coster. This would be the Ripon College appointment for a term ending May 31st, 2026.
Make a motion to approve Maddie Coster.
Second.
Moved by Howard, seconded by Doug. Any discussion? Jolene?
As the representative of the Ripon Community Media Committee, I will say that I highly recommend, I'm glad that Maddie Coster is interested in this. She is the director of the Wilmore Center, and a lot of our program does center around athletics at Ripon College. So it does seem to make sense to have her be the representative. The previous representative from Ripon College has moved into a different employment at the college, so this makes a lot of sense.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving Maddie Coster to the Ripon Community Media Committee, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? She's approved, thank you. And last one is for the Library Board, and Michelle Veely. This would be for a term ending June 30th, 2025.
I'll move that Michelle be appointed to the library board.
I'll second.
Moved by Ellen, seconded by Paige. Any discussion?
I just have a question as to why I don't see that name on.
There was
We might not have handed it up, sorry.
Addendum.
Oh.
Oh,
it was a late
Yeah.
appointment.
Had got it in
Like
late.
15 minutes after the packet went out.
Yeah, it's the second.
I see it now.
So I apologize for that. We've had the motion and second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving Michelle Veely to the Library Board, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? He's approved. Thank you. I have for appointments tonight. Is there any future agenda items or comments from the council?
I should have asked this question before, but whose appointment is John Harden filling? Who's leaving the Plan Commission?
It was vacant.
Oh, it was vacant, okay. Just a vacant term. Okay, I thought maybe somebody was leaving.
No.
No, there's one spot that was open.
Okay.
There are other spots open on other committees if people are interested in serving.
They're filling up
They're
slowly.
filling up. Yep, we're doing. Getting, yeah.
Anyone else? Is
Make
there a motion to adjourn?
Oh, I'll second.
Motion to adjourn by David, second by Paige. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned at 8:30. Thank you, everyone.
I know.
Have a good night.